Hey kids, welcome to Unit 2, the Revolutionary War. During this unit, we're going to be talking about the causes of the Revolutionary War, the major battles, and its outcome. We got some great questions for this unit, so listen up. Here they are. What was the French and Indian War all about, and why was it so important? Aha, oui, oui. Those French guys. What were the major causes of the Revolutionary War? Yep. Who were loyalists and who were patriots? Ooh, I think I know this one. Aren't they a football team? How did a place called Valley Forge turn the tide of the war? Or did it? Well, there you have it, our questions for our unit on the Revolutionary War. We're going to get started today with that French-Indian War. So, grab your flag, get your drum. I got the fife. The French-Indian War. You may have heard of this war before, maybe not though. The French-Indian War was the first major war fought in North America. The war involved four groups. On one side was the French, an age-old enemy of Britain, and Native Americans, who mostly sided with the French. On the other side were the American colonists and Great Britain, with a few Native American allies. So let's talk about why this war happened in the first place. In our simulation, you colonists were blamed for starting the war with France because you angered the natives. In reality, it was the rivalry between France and Britain, fighting for control of the resources available in the New World, specifically the Ohio River Valley. You were just being blamed to justify taxes. So you may be wondering, why did the natives ally with the French instead of with the British? In reality, both groups were fighting for a land that was occupied by Native Americans. Well, there was a difference between how Native Americans were treated by the British and the French. The French had fewer settlements in America and were more likely to live among the natives, learn their culture, even at times marry a member of their tribe. The British, on the other hand, were more likely to have conflicts with the natives and force them off their land. Over time, the French-Indian War turned into a world war. Fighting spread to India, Sweden, and Austria. At the end of the war, even Spain got into it. By the time the war ended, many people would die and much gold would be spent. In fact, Britain would spend so much gold, it would have a great deal of debt by the time the war was over. This is where we get to the main point of why we're talking about this war in the first place. You see, the debt that Britain accumulated had to be paid for. And for the first time, Britons started looking to the wealth of their American colonies for the money. They were in fact the beneficiaries of the war, in that French competition was gone, and now there was more territory to expand to. It only seemed fitting that they should help repay the debt. Until now, the colonists were making the king money through a system called imperialism. We refer to this as the Circle in our Fact Action Debate class activity. Remember, the Circle is all about keeping trade in the family, so to speak. Great Britain used laws like the Navigation Acts to control trade from the colonies and make sure it benefited Great Britain more than the colonists. Colonists who didn't like giving up personal profits to benefit the king and country would have to break these rules and become smugglers. After the French-Indian War, however, Great Britain needed more than just control of trade. They needed income in the form of taxes paid by the colonists. Debate over whether the king had the right to tax the colonists would eventually lead to the colonies declaring their independence. So really, the French-Indian War is kind of the cause of the Revolutionary War. Without the war, Great Britain might have gone on to control the colonies to this very day. But that is not what happened. So what else happened because of the French-Indian War? Well, Britain did win the war, and with that victory gained control of Canada and Florida. To get Spain out of the war, they were given the port city of New Orleans. So, in the end, France is kicked out of North America. England expands the territory it controls in America. So what? Well, if you can answer the following questions, then you learned what you needed to know. Who fought in the French-Indian War? And what were they fighting over? Why were the Native Americans more likely to side with the French than the British? And finally, what was the outcome of the war, and how is it related to the Revolutionary War? Stay tuned next time when we talk about the causes of the Revolutionary War.